Well, good morning, guys, and welcome to the show, Fernando.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Today we have, I say this a lot, we have a fun one for you, and I really mean this is fun. It's a Dodge Ram, so that should be exciting there, because it's not the usual. Let's talk about why it's here, but before we do that, let's roll the intro. So we had a gentleman come in the other day. He's like, I love the way my car sounds. I'm super happy with it. I'm going, really? What he really wanted was bass. Here's the caveat. It is a Dodge Ram. It does have the Alpine sound system in it, and it is the older Camelback Dodge. They call it Camelback because it's got two humps and they're upside down. You get my point. It already has a subwoofer in it. Because, yeah, I know. Two things. One, it's an 8-inch. It's small. It's factory. It's limp. It doesn't really do much. And two, this cover sits over the top of it, and then the seat sits on top of that. What kind of bass are you hoping to get out of there? None. What everyone says. I don't want to win no competitions, but what I want is some good, strong bass that complements the rest of my system, because I don't want to pull out all my speakers. I like the way it sounds. I like the volume I have. I just want bass that goes along with it. No problem, man. We got a really simple solution for you. It's an Alpine system. We can do a SubPro. AudioControl has the new Altitude series amplifiers and the power kit, of course. And the biggest thing, what's in this box, is the new AudioControl Dodge Ram Camel box. The reason why we went with the Altitude amplifier for this particular install is we didn't know what the truck was. Like, he called, we talked over the phone. I didn't know if it was an Alpine system. He didn't know if it was an Alpine system. I was like, all right, well, let's just plan for the worst. And that's why we went with the Altitude amplifier. It comes in at the right price point, and two, it has high level and low level input, so it's easy enough to integrate into a factory system. Secondly, it's audio control. It'll match the subwoofers. That's a big bonus. So let's take a look at these products. We'll kind of go over what they're gonna be. Fernando's gonna get started taking the truck apart. I guess we should talk about that. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sting a 4-inch power wire through here, back to back here. We're gonna make a cool custom amp rack that goes right in this area here. We're gonna remove all of these so the box will drop into place. Put the AmpPro in, the radio does have to come out. We're gonna put the bass knob right here. We have a lot of work to do and a short time to do it. Let's head over to the bench and we'll talk about these products that we're gonna put in this thing. This is the Altitude a800.1, which is a perfect amount of power for something like this where we just need enough to compete with the factory system. We're not going to be replacing the speakers. He's not going to be upgrading. He is just going to be adding bass. Now, if you'd like a full review of this amplifier, we did do a video on it, so definitely want to check that out, see what kind of power this thing is putting out, and all the nice stuff like gut shots and things like that. Got a box of parts here. Inside of that, we have the wrenches, screws to mount the amplifier, your pick to turn up and down the gain, as well as your plug for the high level input. Then the amplifier itself. If you're not familiar with the Altitude series amplifier, they do have a really nice look to them. I like the fact that they went with something other than just black, because everything is black. This has this nice bluish gray look to it that is just elegant, and then they've done this pinch thing with the side that looks really cool. And of course, all the controls are hidden underneath this panel. Now, one of the nice things they do with this particular cover is they have these little plastic washers that are in here, and what those washers are designed to do is hold the screws in place so that they don't fall out and they don't get lost on the bench. Otherwise, you need to take them, you need to put them back in these holes because you'll lose them. We don't want to lose them. For now, we're going to put this back in the box. Taking a closer look at the amp, we'll look at the power output first. 2 positives, 2 negatives. This is a mono amplifier. It is a 1 channel. They give you this because some boxes have 2 speaker cups on it, and this makes it way more convenient to hook those 2 pairs wires into this as opposed to trying to like twist them together and fit them into 1 input. This also allows you to run a bigger gauge wire if you feel you need to. You have input and output RCAs, and they do put caps over these, so if you're not going to be using one, you can leave it off. For this, we'll be using channels 1 and 2 input. Next to them also is the high level input, this plug here, and now this allows you to integrate into a factory stereo without the need of another high level to low level adapter. So you don't have to buy an external high level. All you have to do is hook up these wires to the speaker outputs. It will generate a remote turn on for you, so it'll automatically turn on the amplifier, and that is done with this switch right here, which is the trigger mode. You have remote, GTO, and audio. If you'd like this to turn on when connected, you put it to GTO or great turn on. If you're going to be running remote turn on, such as what we're going to be doing because because we're going to be using RCAs, then you want to make sure it stays in remote. The other switch is this here where you have high level and low level. For this installation, we will be using the RCA low level, but if we were going to be using these high level, we would flick the switch to the high level input, and that will tell the amplifier, hey, look for this. Either way you hook it up, you still have the pre-outputs to go off to another amplifier. Bonus. On top of the amplifier, next up, we have the low pass crossover between 60 and 120 hertz. We have a subsonic filter that is either off 10 to 50 hertz, gain control, parabass, aka bass boost, that is variable between 40 and 80 hertz with a gain. On this side of the amplifier, we have the power light, we have the protect light, then we also have our 12 volt input, our remote input, our valet input, and our ground input. And you go, wait, what's a valet input? If you connect this to a trigger, it will reduce the volume output of the amplifier, aka if you take it to a valet, or you're taking it to a car dealership, or you're taking it somewhere where you don't want the full bass potential to be had, you can flick that toggle switch, it'll tell the amplifier to attenuate the volume down, and then when you come back, you can flick the switch and have all the luscious bass that you've had before. As far as the sizes go, clearly you can fit a 4 gauge in here and an 8 gauge remote turn on. Don't use an 8 gauge remote turn on. These are big enough so you can fit a ferrule in there with a nice connection. An optional bass remote is available for this amplifier, and that is this guy right here, the ACR1. The nice thing about the ACR1, it has the cool power light here. It's easy to mount up underneath the dash however you want to. This all comes apart. Remove these 2 screws and you can have a nice flush mountable bass knob. For this installation, because we are going to be using an AmpPro, the AmpPro does have a bass knob already included in the box. We're going to be running that one. Make sure if you're not going to be doing something like an AmpPro that you get the bass knob if it's something you're going to want. I keep saying AmpPro. What is an AmpPro and why do we keep saying it? This box here houses said AmpPro. This is a sub-pro version. You have AmpPros, which have 6-channel RC output, front, rear, sub, and a toss link, depending on which one you get. Then you have Sub-Pro, which is that. It just has a sub output. Because this has the Alpine system, this is an ideal candidate for this particular product. Here's that bass knob that it comes with. Very universal. It's got a super long neck, so you can put it through lots of layers of plastic if you need to. It also comes with 2 bolts, so you can get it just the right depth out of the dash. It's pretty sweet feature. The unit itself, this is the Sub-Pro for this vehicle. Has some dip switches, which we'll take a look at the owner's manual to see if we need to set up. A couple plugs, and over here the RCA outputs. So this is for sub only. It's not a full range output. It's actively crossed over at a higher frequency that would work fine if you're going to add an epicenter or anything like that. This is also not a high level to low level adapter. That is the big difference here. This amp will hook up via high level to low level, which means that factory sub we have in there, we could connect those inputs to that output and we could get the bass signal into this. However, we're also going to get everything that goes along with that, meaning if there's bass roll off, if there is any form of filtering done, anything that is coming into that factory sub, this amplifier is going to have to play that as well, which means we might not get the bass response that we want. We're going to get what we get and we can't pitch a fit. With this talks to the data bus in the car, plugs in behind the radio, it parallels with the amplifier. So this actually will get a full 20 to 20, full frequency, non-EQ'd, no nonsense out of these RCAs that we can connect to. So any of the stuff that the factory subwoofer is doing, we're not going to have to worry about. So we'll get a full, crisp, clean, perfect bass into our altitude amplifier. That's why we chose this. As far as hooking it up, comes with this big harness right here. We have to pull the radio out of the dash, and then this is going to go behind the radio. This plugs in. Here's your remote turn on right here. This other little harness here that just fell out. If your car has the automatic noise canceling module that is up underneath the driver's seat or possibly in the dash, this is to keep that noise out of the system. They do sell this as a standalone piece. Like for example, if you're going to be putting this in a non-Alpine system, it may still have the ANC nonsense in it. You can get the ANC bypass for those as well if you're having to do high level input. The cool thing is the wires you need to hook up your high level are located at the ANC module, so it will make the installation pretty cool. We don't have an ANC in this particular vehicle because it's a 2013. We're just going to be hooking this up. Just as a side note, if you have the non-Alpine system and you're going to be replacing all of the amplification, meaning you're not just going to be adding a sub amp, you can go with the AmpPro, which is the big brother to this, with the 6 RC outputs. It will reflash the radio. You have to do some lock the doors twice and wait like 20 minutes. it will tell the factory radio that's an Alpine system, and then you can plug in the AmpPro and you can get your 6-channel preamp output without the EQ, without the bass roll-off, with all the nonsense gone. Perfect 6 channels. In some cases, that's way smarter to do. You know, get like a 5-channel amp and hook that in and get just amazing sound out of your factory radio. So there's a lot of options available to you. That's why we picked this scenario, because we didn't know which one we were going to get thrown at us. We have all the tools here to handle it. Pretty awesome. Let's hop into the vehicle. We'll get the radio out and we'll show you how this gets installed. I strongly recommend you grabbing yourself some form of a tote so that you can put all your screws and parts in it without them getting lost. Head into the closet and steal one of your wife's Tupperware dishes. Panel tool. Remove this top rubber piece off of the dash. Hiding underneath that are 2 T20 Torx head screws. With both of those out, lift up the whole armrest. And what we need to do, remove the rubber piece here from the bottom. And unlike the top, this has Phillips screws. Using your panel tool, there's a trim that goes around this gear shifter. Carefully pry that up and set it aside. It's not super fragile, but you don't want to break it. This is also going to be the thing that if they drink coffee is going to be covered in coffee. Let's lift up this whole center console, starting in the back area here where the armrest was. It'll easily just pop out. There is a screw in this cup holder. It does not need to come out. Some of the Dodge, this pocket right here, there will be a screw in the back, and we're in luck. This is one of them, and it is a Torx screw. With that screw removed, this whole piece should come out. I like to start here in the bottom area and work it up and then forward. And that's it. Take some kind of a rag and cover this area here. There is one plug located at the top here where the radio controls are, and another plug located towards the bottom where the AC controls are. Depending on whether it has a trailer package, there'll be a plug here that may or may not be plugged in anything, and then the DC to AC converter also has to come out. So you have a total of 4 plugs to remove this. With that done, we're going to switch to a 7mm, and this screen is being held by 4 of them. Apparently somebody really torqued down this screw. Holy cow. All right, with some strong motivation, we got the screw out. Before we plug in the AmpPro, we need to look through the instructions really quick, specifically at what the dip switches are for. That's over here on page 2. Function 1, 3, and 4 say no function. Function 2 is a 5 or 4 volt preout. This is if your amplifier cannot handle a 5 volt preamp input, you can down the voltage by turning this on. It'll keep the amplifier's input from clipping. You can download this instruction manual from their website, and if you're thinking about getting one of these, I suggest you do that because you're going to want to read all of this. Let's hop back into the car. And this is why you wanted that blanket underneath it, so that you have something for this screen, so you don't want this to get scratched or get messed up or anything like that. Now on this, there is a clip located next to the gray USB connector. So unplug that and you just push it and your whole plug will come right out. Antennas will twist out of the way, and that's what we're looking for. This luscious connector right here. AmpPro, connect power plug to it, plug it into the car, lock it into place. You'll hear a little click. Next, make sure that this clip is open and at like the 12 o'clock. Look at the bottom of the plug. There's a big pin side and a small pin side. Those, you need to line it up that way. If you put it in wrong, of course, you could run the risk of bending some of the plugs. Carefully install that back into the radio and lock it down into place. Make sure that it's nice and tight. Plug the USB back in. And at this point, I like to route my AmpPro down into this lower cavity of the dash here. Tuck the wires up underneath the metal shelf. Line this thing back up. Put the 4 7mm screws back in. We're done with the radio. It's time for some testing to make sure that everything went according to plan. I know all we did was plug something in, but I like to test it at this point and make sure everything is doing what it should. The first thing is to just turn the car on and make sure we have audio. I can hear static, which means we have audio. Digital multimeter, test leads, black goes to ground, red goes to the remote turn on, blue with white stripe. We have voltage. The car is not on, so it's going to be a little low. That's okay. I want to test the output of the AmpPro to make sure I have sound coming out of that RCA. For that, I use our IRTA2, which is a 2-channel electrical RTA. We only need 1 channel to do this. Hooked up to our iPad. Turn the volume up. See it rise up. We're just playing static from the radio. Turn it down. And that concludes our testing. Now we know that this puts out sound and remote turn on. The radio is functioning the way it's supposed to. So when we're done, we don't have to worry about troubleshooting it or anything like that. I like to refer to this as eating my vegetables first. There's a nice piece of plastic located in the dash right here that this will attach to and make for a really nice installation so that it's not flopping around in the dash. You can find the IRTA2 on dnftooldrar.com. One more thing I'm going to do now that I have this screwed into place is I'm going to take off this butt connector and I'm going to replace that with a female insulated bullet connector. That way we can plug and unplug our remote turn on if we need to. Time to mount the bass knob. Join me over at the bench. This area right here is a really nice place. There's nothing behind this and it's big enough to, if we need to, we can do multiple things like add an epicenter or a USB charger or anything like that that you might want to add. I don't want to take up all this real estate, so I'm going to kind of go to this corner over here, put a pilot hole in. This guy is super long. It's got lots of thread. It can go through a pretty thick piece, which is unconventional for most bass knobs. They just don't do that. Comes with 2 washers, 2 nuts, and the knob itself. To finish off the hole, use a step bit. This dash bezel is super rubbery. I'm gonna use my deburring tool. Make sure to get it down inside there and get the back side. Test fit it, make sure it goes through the hole. The other thing I want to do is kind of gauge where the height is going to be on this. Put one of the nuts on, thread it down, and then a washer. Test fit it up through here. What you're trying to get is just enough room for that nut and washer to go on. In this case, I need to go down just a little bit more. Fit it again, washer. Now the easiest way to tighten one of these up is to actually just use a socket. I don't like to use like needle nose or pliers or something like that because you run the risk of scratching the top surface. These are usually smooth and you don't have that problem. There we go. There is a little triangle here to denote what is all the way up. So I turn it all the way up and just kind of set it on there lightly, turn it all the way down. Make sure that I have a linear movement, push it down into place. If you've done it right, it should sit on there pretty flat and not rub the back plastic piece. With all the preliminary stuff out of the way, it's time to figure out where are we going to put the amplifier. Now in the past, the previous body style, we would put things up underneath the driver's front seat. It's a favorite place of mine. However, with this and the newer ones, there's a big AC vent, some body control modules. That has become a place where you just can't do it. Behind the seat, this has a sliding rear window. More than likely for something this old, it's probably going to leak. So we need to come up with something a little bit better than that. There's a lot of room right here, and that's where we like to put them. We have an amp rack that we make, slides into place right in here, utilizes the factory bolts to screw it down. Let's take a look. So the amp rack sits in here. It has a notch here. There's usually a place to run wires through this area because they have the factory wires run there. Bolts in here and here. And of course I have a ton of notes on it depending on which RAM I'm actually doing. But that amplifier, there's plenty of room to sit it here. It keeps it up off the floor. It'll keep any water and debris out of it, which is really nice. So that means it's time to head over to the router, cut one of these out so that we can get it into the vehicle. For this, we'll be making our amp rack out of 1/4" plastic. We're gonna need some double-sided tape. This piece is 16.5 by 20. It needs to be a little bit longer, which I have notes for on here because of the way this is constructed. Using our spiral cut flush trim bit from Mobile Solutions. We want our ball bearing to ride along our substrate here. If you are using some form of a template, any kind, make sure when you're done to remove the tape. Never use it twice. And don't leave it on there because it leaves it messy for the next guy. Because our template was a little short, we just need to trim up some area here and here. For that, we're actually just gonna use the scrap. This is the amp rack that we're going to be using. It is going to sit in the vehicle just like this. This is the back of the vehicle, this is the front of the vehicle. Let's put the amplifier in here, get some wires. Meet me over at the bench. Center the amplifier up on your board and screw it into place. We will be using a Stinger Pro wiring for this, which comes with a 4000 series RCA, and the Stinger Pro wire, which is red and black, and a remote turn on. For right now, I'm gonna leave this ground wire this long because typically this needs to get grounded over inside of one of the camel humps. I don't like just leaving the wire like this. I'm gonna put some braided loom on it, and 1, 2. Wire's looking all pretty with some Tech Flex on it, just like that. We have these custom heat shrink 5-star logos made, so you know who did it. Ground goes in first. Now, if you've never seen a ferrule on the wire before, that's this piece right here, and what it's designed to do is take all of that wiring and compress it down into what would be kind of like a lug. That makes it so that when you go to tighten this screw down, keeps all the wiring in one solid chunk, so that as you're twisting, it's not like ripping the wire apart and fanning it all out. Just makes for a much cleaner installation. Put one on the remote turn on to fill in the hole. For the remote turn on, we covered it in loom up to this point here, which is by design because we're going to be bundling it with our RCA. These RCAs are directional. It has nothing to do with the copper or anything like that, or any magical, mystical properties. It is that way because there's a drain wire that's in here that's connected at one end and not connected at the other, and it's to help move noise away from your signal source. So if you look carefully on the RCA, there is some little arrows pointing in the direction of the signal. In this case, this end needs to go back here by the amplifier. We need all of these wires to terminate in this general area here. To make it look pretty, I'll be using my wire ruler that you can get at mobilesolutions.com and drilling a bunch of holes and adding some zip ties to make it look special. Let me show you what I mean. Using the wire ruler allows us to strategically plan out where we'd like to run the wires and then add holes at predetermined lengths so that we can add in some zip ties so that our wire looks nice and organized and is tucked up into the amp rack. And then when you look at it, it just looks aesthetically pleasing. In this case, we've taped up the RCA and the remote turn on together so that we can run these to the front of the vehicle. Fernando's finishing up the sub wire. We'll get that screwed in last. That's just gonna drape over to the subwoofer. Let's get this into the car and start running those wires up to the front and connect them to the battery. We'll take a look how we're going to mount the fuse holder. And there we have it. The amplifier is screwed down into place. These are the two front factory bolts to hold this bracket. Probably had to make those a little bit longer so we can make sure we get the amplifier pushed back as far as possible. There was that slit in the carpet right here where this seat clip comes out of. When you remove this area here, and of course take these bolts out so you can get that whole rack out, pull these clips, that'll allow you to lift up. This whole area here will come out, making it fairly easy to get the wiring through and down up to the side of the car here. There's also a really nice spot to make a factory ground point here. Fernando is getting the side of the car put back together. RCA's here, power wires there. Which one do we take a look at first? Joining Fernando underneath the hood, he is putting the finishing touches on the power wire.
So we ran our power wire through the plastic grommet that normally the Dodge Ram has. We make our fuse holder. This is like type of stairs style, mounted with a big bolt on the plastic battery mount, and that's it. So now it's secure. Put some zip ties on it. That's it.
Did you glue the hole?
I'm gonna do that after I tie my battery.
So we call it gooing the hole, and what that is we use this 3M strip caulk, and it's a sticky black goo is really the only way to say it. Oh yeah, look, it's like the equivalent of venom. Here you go.
Without the superpowers.
Without the super, it just gets. With the amplifier in, the power wires ran. It's that time. Let's take a look at the subwoofer that's going in this bad boy. You're gonna order this, as you can see, it comes fully packaged. It's a big, big box. And inside of that box is a bunch of foam. Ooh. I don't know what it is about foam, but I get excited. I know. Like we could cut that and make tool trays out of it. And another box. So it's a box inside of a box covered in foam.
So much foam.
A lot of foam.
It's very protective.
Yeah.
Gosh. It comes
instructions.
With instructions and the brackets. And here we go.
Now, if you've never seen one of these boxes, these are made out of fiberglass. This is not wood.
They are loaded.
Of course they're loaded.
Careful. Don't shoot them.
I'm gonna help him get this. We'll take a look over on the tailgate. So this enclosure has 2 Space Series AudioControl subwoofers in it with the grills. It is rhino lined fiberglass. This here and this here are the 2 screw down points if you want to use the brackets. In the kit you also get this, which is for this guy right here. So it comes with your standard push down terminals, which are great. However, I'm a big fan of this. What that allows us to do is make this box super easy to remove and take in and out of the vehicle. Plus, we don't have exposed wires. This is what we put on all our enclosures. So we'll be using this for our wiring of the subwoofers. Simply solder this onto the end of the 2 12 gauge wires that we've already ran. Let's see what this looks like inside of the vehicle. Wait, wasn't it? It was just, there it is. Woo, look at that. Simply plugs into place, makes it real easy. This just comes out and you can easily take the whole box in and out without worrying about having live speaker wires back here that could possibly blow up your amplifier. Built like a tank. You can still easily get to your cup holders. The seat goes down with no issues. If you'll notice the construction of the box, it has this lip that allows full travel of the woofer and also a vent out the back here so they get optimum bass. And even with the seat down, there's plenty of ways to get air out of the woofer. So the problem he was having with the factory sub won't be a problem anymore. Let's head around to the other side and see how much room we have between the amplifier and the box. As you can see, there is plenty of room. This fits in here nice. If you did want to add those brackets, here's where they go, right here, and it uses the factory bolt. You could lock it into place, but then it'll make it removing it difficult. In this case, we want to make sure he can get this out because he has expressed concerns with, I might want it. Yes, you can take it out. It's no problem. It'll easily come out. Now that we have all that, guess what time it is? It's time to take a listen. Now, this is a 5-volt output, so start with the gains all the way down, and my guess is you're probably not going to need to do much with them. However, we do have the parabass and the crossover. I'm going to cross this over at 80 hertz, and of course the parabass. We're just going to wait and see how it goes, but I look forward to that because I like bass EQ. Now, one of the things I did forget to mention when it was over on the amplifier, which I can't believe it escaped my mind, is that guess what? This amplifier has a clip light. There's a bunch of different ways you can set up an amplifier to test for clip and get the gain set perfect. It never happens. Your gain will never be set perfect. But a good way to do it, and something we like doing, is we'll play a real heavy bass track. The worst bass track that could possibly be played, we'll turn the volume up to a level that is extremely high, and we'll start adjusting the gain there. That will give us a real world application as far as how loud that gain can be. We can also play a couple other different songs and figure out where we want it. Because keep in mind, if you're using a negative 10 or 15 dB 40 hertz track, that means you're adding 10 or 15 dBs of boost into the signal. I did turn it up a little bit too high though for the purpose of this video, so I'm gonna turn it back down. Let's hop in the front and take a listen to this bad boy. The AudioControl Space Series subwoofers, yeah, and any one of the plethora of enclosures they have, you need to. These things pack an amazing punch, amazing kick. They play nice deep and low, and these factory built enclosures, we've done the Gladiator. We of course have put in a ton of F-150 ones, we've just never filmed them. This Ram, they kick butt and take name. Now the question would be, where can you find out more information about these? You can find more about AudioControl at audiocontrol.com. You can find out about the AmpPro at pack-audio.com. And that's it. This ticks the box. I can't wait to deliver this car and let this gentleman hear these subwoofers because damn, this is exactly what he wanted. And it looks cool too.
It looks fantastic.
It is fantastic.
Yeah.
Good job, Fernando.
All right.
What do you say?
On to the next one, guys.
You guys have a great night as always. We hope you enjoyed this. Let us know. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.
Bye. course, the video's all done and everyone's gone home. And I gotta sit here and put the cover back on the amplifier. Yeah. I want to go home. I mean, it's been a long day for me too. Nope, gotta put the cover back on.